Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Something a little different this week. It is going to involve the Cobra, but it's pretty much just going to be going over some issues and future plans with the car after I've now driven it after doing a lot of work previously. Reason being, garage is kind of going through a renovation, so I really can't tear the car apart at the moment. I have a company that's actually going to be coming in and redoing my floor and changing out a bunch of stuff and doing a lot of updating. So, car kind of has to stay together and mobile at this time. So, that being said, going to get the camera turned around and go ahead and start walking through some of the things that I found with the car and what needs to be updated. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is now I put some mileage on it, I do want to go over and recheck the ride height. I know previous video I went through all of the issues I was going through, or just the time I put into it, just trying to get the ride height figured out. But now it's actually got some mileage on it, so it's going to be worth double checking before I get it up in the air, see where things are at, and then I can go ahead and make any final adjustments as far as ride height goes. Along with that, the suspension, I do need to make some adjustments. Driving this car, I found that it's a mix of two things. It's still a little rough, and then it's also very pogo-y on undulating roads. Where I live, there's a lot of concrete roads that have like expansion joints every 20 feet, so the roads will tend to undulate. So what I did is did a little reaching out online and searching in some of the forums. I got some responses from a couple of people. One is the rear shocks. If you followed along when I put the rear coilovers in this car from Factory 5, I set the shock setting at 1 click stiffer from full soft. It was recommended me to go back to full soft because that could be causing part of my pogoing issue. So I will need to make the adjustment to the rear shocks. And then also the big thing that I'm going to adjust is tire pressure. Such a light car, tire pressure can make a huge difference. I've been running this thing at 23 PSI at all four corners. It was recommended to go down to maybe 20, 21, possibly even less. And that should really soften the ride up and make some adjustments. So those are the first things I'm going to do as far as the suspension goes, and try and improve the ride quality from a stiffness slash harshness, and get rid of some of that pogoing. All right, so next thing that I need to figure out and resolve that I noticed is driving down the road. Once I got going probably more than 15, 20 miles an hour, this thing has a really bad vibration now. And I'm thinking, it seemed like it was coming from this area, and I'm thinking from when I did the transmission, somehow or another, the floor, because I had to push up on the transmission so hard, that it might have loosened up the pan, or like the floor pan board where it hits the frame. And I'm wondering if that's the vibration. If it's not that, it could be the bronze shifter bushing that I put in the transmission when I did the rebuild, because that came with my rebuild kit. I think it's going to be one or the other, because there's really nothing else I've done to the car. I will probably, before I start really digging into anything hardcore, take it for another drive with everything out of the trunk. I don't think it's anything that was in the trunk that was doing it, but it was a pretty obnoxious vibration. Like, I was thinking something was really really wrong when I was hearing this going down the road. So that is something that I need to address as far as the cabin and a new noise goes, because that noise did not exist before I did the transmission rebuild. All right, so along with the transmission rebuild, and you probably are going to have a hard time seeing it, but there's a little shiny spot there. That is transmission fluid, and it is coming out of the rear seal. I haven't been under the car yet, but I reached under and took some pictures, which I will insert one after this little clip. And it appears it's actually coming not out of where the drive shaft goes into the back of the transmission, but just between the actual seal and the transmission itself. So I'm wondering if there's like just some etching in the aluminum case or whatever where the seal fits in from being seals replaced over the years. And I probably just need to get a new seal, put some RTV on it when I install it, and that'll hopefully fix the problem. Again, just from photos, doesn't look like it's coming out where the drive shaft is, but I won't know for sure until I get under the car. Next up, cooling leak. The one thing that I didn't change, it appears to be leaking, and I'm pretty sure, I brought this up previously, it appears to be that the thermostat gasket where it meets the coolant expansion tank is leaking. I don't know if you can see it, there's some liquid down there. Hard to see, but it's in the timing cover down there. But anyway, it's slowly seeping, and it appears to be just seeping between the gasket, like through the paper of the gasket. If I run my finger underneath, I can feel it, and it's just like the paper is wicking up the coolant, and it's slowly dripping. It's not a bad leak at all, but it's just one that's going to annoy me. So plan for that. I did, some searching online. Is I'm going to, drain some of the coolant out and pull off the tank, and I am just going to go ahead and use Right Stuff instead of using a paper gasket, because it appears the paper gasket itself tends to be a problem with these coolant leaks. So that is something I'm going to have to address. While I'm at it, I had mentioned this when I put the engine together. I'm going to get a new hose here, because you can kind of see this one's tight, whereas this one's a lot looser. So I want to get a new hose just to lengthen that up so it's not rubbing on the valve cover. This one I fixed. I can get my hand under here. That one's still tight to the valve cover, so need to get that. Along with that, I may be swapping out the heater control valve. There's a 4-port one which goes in between both lines, and that actually will do an even better job of keeping any fluid from recirculating and keep heat out of the car as much as possible, because anybody who owns one of these cars knows that they are very hot in the interior in the summertime. It's a battle you're constantly fighting. So that is something that is going to be on the list coming either over the winter or soon. We will see. All right, next winter project I want to go over this is one that's been on my list for a while, is this car came with this wonderful fiberglass rod that just kind of floats around in the trunk to hold the trunk up because there's no stay. I think I figured out what I want to do. It's going to be like that old school telescoping bar type of rod. My plan is to mount the base right around here and then have it extend up to hold the trunk lid up. There should be enough meat where I can get a nut plate or something on the other side of the fiberglass and find a way to attach it. I've been hemming and hawing on how I want to do it because I don't want to screw things up, but I do need to get some sort of trunk stay because this is just a pain in the butt. That rod barely fits in the trunk. I thought at first that was my vibration that I was hearing going down the road, and I moved it and no, it was not. So that is going to be one of the winter projects for the car. All right, well, that's really all I got this week. I know, like I said at the beginning, it's not really exciting, but I really can't dig into the car any because I need to get this garage cleaned out the rest of the way and ready for the construction crew that's coming to basically grind down my floor and put in, a whole new floor coating, covering, etc. So I will have a video on that, kind of going over what all I'm doing here. I'm also probably going to do a little work on the Jeep. Since I can't work on this, I do have some springs and stuff to install in my Gladiator that have been sitting in my garage for the better part of a year, and that I can do out in my driveway. So that being said, if you like what you're seeing, you want to follow along, see what happens, please hit like, please hit subscribe, please hit the notification bell. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I do review them. I will reply. I do have a second YouTube channel devoted to firearms. If that is something that interests you, there is a link in the description below. I also have a Rumble channel where I am posting firearm content as well. If you're on Rumble, I'd appreciate it if you head over there and like my page, link in the description. Do have some merchandise that I'm selling. You probably see it below this video, and I'm sure you've seen it in some of my other videos. Link in the description as well. That being said, thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.